Hello you guys, how's it going again today? I'm super excited about this video. I'm talking today about the 5 pillars or 5 characteristics that make for an incredible helicopter pilot. These are things I look for in my pilots and that we're trying to instill in the pilots that we're creating here. So right here is the first one, and I've labeled it as spatial awareness, okay? What does spatial awareness mean? Basically, if a person has the ability to look at an area and they can visualize already, just as they arrive at the spot, what they're going to do in that area. They're thinking about, let's say it's a confined space, they're thinking about the size of their helicopter, if it's going to be able to fit in a certain spot. They're thinking about the way that they're going to get into it, how far they have to fly out to come back into the spot. Just an overall spatial awareness, and that goes for all different facets of life beyond just flying a helicopter. But one of them that I find is absolutely critical, this is the hardest one to teach people, and it's a fundamental skill that people have. They're growing up with it. I don't know where it comes from in their life, but they grow up with it and they have the ability to just be able to enter space and look at the surroundings and say, okay, this is how something gets done. A simple example for you guys is somebody who has the ability to drive a car in tight spaces and just pull into a parallel parking spot or whatever happens to be with ease without even having to think about it. That person is very spatially aware. They're very comfortable with their surroundings and how they're going to fit into a space. I think that's a fundamental characteristic or pillar that makes for a great helicopter pilot. That's something that I try and teach as much as I can, but I definitely look for in really good pilots, okay? The next one we're talking about is thinking on your feet, okay? As a pilot, you have to be able to problem solve like this. Things come at you, it's a multitasking world, there's lots going on. Flying a helicopter, you know, when you're first learning how to just fly a helicopter, there's a lot going on in just the hands and feet of being able to do that, but then you add in lots of other things. You add in company pressures, you add in the customers asking you questions, and you're having to talk to the customers and answer their questions. You're talking about weather, radio control frequencies, all these kind of things. All of a sudden, you're dealing with all this workload and something new gets thrown at you. You have an emergency light comes on, you have an engine failure, you have a low fuel situation, whatever it happens to be, maybe a bird coming near you, whatever it is, that's a situation where you need to be able to think on your feet in a real hurry and be able to problem solve in a hurry. That's a fundamental characteristic of a great helicopter pilot, all right? The next one, whoo, this one's critical, safety conscious, okay? You guys, if you want to be a helicopter pilot, you need to be extremely safety conscious, always thinking about the safety of yourself, the safety of the passengers that are on board your aircraft, and of course the safety of everybody outside of the aircraft as well, because you're flying this in a 3D environment with people all around you. It's like driving a car. You're driving a car on the highway with many other people racing along with you. If you're going to step out of line, do something stupid, fall asleep behind the wheel, whatever it's going to happen to be, you're endangering the lives of yourself, everybody on board, and everybody outside of that vehicle. It's the same thing in a helicopter, except that typically it's much more critical in a helicopter because, like I say, you're in a 3D environment, you're way up in the air, and if things go wrong, they can go wrong in a hurry. So being safety conscious is a real critical thing. I think that kind of sort of leads me to my next point as well. But yeah, being aware that your aircraft is something that requires a lot of safety from both a technical, mechanical point of view and from the pilot's point of view, I think that's a really fundamental pillar, okay? The next one is honest and trustworthy, so that kind of leads into this one. As a pilot, we're entrusted with incredibly expensive, complex equipment, and we want to make sure that we're doing our absolute best to take care of that equipment. But if something were to go wrong, let's say you were out flying and you over-torqued the aircraft, or you over-temped it, or you did something wrong, you got too close to an obstacle, you hit a blade on a little stick or something, and there's now a tiny dent or something in the blade, you're rolling the helicopter in and out of the hangar, and you happen to ding maybe a stabilizer or a blade or something on the wall, and there's just a little nick in it now. Are you honest and trustworthy enough to be able to say, you know what, I'm just going to take ownership of this. I'm going to go talk to my boss about it. I'm going to tell them what I did. I'm going to own up to the issue, no matter how big the consequences, because sometimes the consequences can be really, really big. You over temp a transmission or an engine or something, that can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's a really big inconvenience, of course, for a company. But if you're an honest and trustworthy person, you're going to be that kind of person that says, you know what, I'm going to own up to it, no matter what it's going to cost. I'm going to say, you know what, I blew it, I messed up, and that is going to make for an incredibly trustworthy person that you're going to want to promote in your company. The more honest and trustworthy you are, the faster you're going to work your way to the top of a company. Even if you do make mistakes, that company is going to look at that and they're going to say, you know what, this person has integrity. I want this person to work for me. There's a family that I know that they are probably the most honest and trustworthy people that I know. If anything happens, no matter how small or whatever, they just immediately own up to it. It's a family principle, from the dad right down through all the kids and everything. And it was amazing to me because I taught them all how to fly. It was amazing to me to watch just that ownership and how quickly they would just take responsibilities and say, you know what, I blew it. I made this mistake. I don't care what it's going to take to fix it. I want to make this right. I want to fix it. So that's a really key, amazing skill and fundamental principle or characteristic for a helicopter pilot. Okay, the last one I'm going to talk about today, and this is funny enough, the least one, the lowest one on the totem pole, but it's definitely worth mentioning, and it's good hands and feet. So good hands and feet, what does that actually mean? If a person has good hands and feet, it's just a term that we use for flying helicopters. It means that they have good hand-eye coordination, and they just happen to be naturally good at flying a helicopter. Now, everybody can learn how to fly a helicopter. Some are going to excel quicker than others at it, and so people that are naturally good at hands and feet usually are people that have lots of experience working with machinery or equipment or those kinds of things, and so they tend to pick it up faster than others, which is fantastic. It's by no means a prerequisite, it's not by no means mandatory to have that, but the people that do naturally have good hands and feet, they learn to fly quicker, which I think allows them to do all those other things better sometimes. They're able to get better spatial awareness quicker because now they're not so stressed and thinking about how to fly the helicopter. They're now able to look at their surroundings a little bit more and so forth. So I think that's a really great one. The funniest thing that I heard one time, we were taking our students around to different companies and talking to the chief pilots of different companies and getting their opinion just firsthand from the chief pilot to the students of what they look for in helicopter pilots. And I remember this chief pilot, he was an Aussie guy, and you know, he said in his own way, I'm going to butcher this, but basically he said, you know what, when you walk in the door and you want a job with us, I basically take your license and I chuck it in the corner, and I say, okay, let's get you to work and let's see how you work here. And he says, you know what, if you're coming to me with a license, I know you know how to fly a helicopter. Everybody's got hands and feet, they can all learn how to fly a helicopter. It's the true characteristics that really make for a great pilot. And so he says, when he gets them to work, and I know the student's eyes kind of open wide, like, what do you mean you're going to take my license and throw it in the corner? You know, I just paid 60 grand for that. That's you know, it was an analogy, but the idea basically behind it is all those other things, those other principles, the 4 other principles, he's looking for those in a job interview, and it might be a working job interview where he says, you know what, I'm going to put you to work for a day or a week or whatever it's going to be. I'm going to test you out, and I'm going to see what kind of person you are, what shines through, what kind of characteristics shine through. Not what can you put on a resume, that doesn't matter to me. What kind of stuff is deep down inside in your core, fundamental beliefs and principles of your character. Those are the things that make you rise to the top. Those are the things that when you become a ground crew, which is typically in Canada the first job that you'll be as a helicopter pilot, a ground crew, those are the type of things that you're going to spend a year or 2 years proving to the company that you're worthwhile investing a whole bunch of time and money and effort and trust into to actually get you flying and get you going through the company. Okay, I see all the time the people that have those 5 fundamental skills, or those 5 fundamental principles built into them, those are the ones that always rise to the top the fastest. They're always the ones that get hired, and within a few months, they're the ones that are flying, building the hours, building the experience, and becoming the leaders of that company. So I just wanted to share this with you. I thought you guys might find this interesting. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Share some comments below if there's some characteristics that you think that I've missed, which I'm sure there's many more. I'm just picking kind of the 5 key ones that I think about on the sort of the top of my head. If you think there's more, share them in the comments below. If you guys have experience with this, share that in the comments below. And I would love it if you guys subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, share this video, and we're gonna talk to you guys on the next one. Thanks for listening. Bye.